Welcome back to our channel 217 Prince YT. After a bit, everything was silent as the creature had taken out all the students in the room. After a while, another monster started to come out of the gate, and we are told these are naturally gifted hunters. Even though they lack intelligence, they far exceed humans when it comes to tracking and hunting. The hunters were greatly excited by the smell of flesh and blood, but these two were just scouts, so they suppressed their instincts and prioritized their mission. These hunters hid in the darkness for a week. One of the creatures senses humans in the building. He tells the second monster, "This building is as complex as a castle," and asks him to call for the brothers, as he will start the hunt first, saying, "We'll massacre all the humans in this castle and fortify our position. Then we start hunting for real." As he gets out of the room, he sees some students in front of him. Before they could notice the beast, it was already upon them. The story shifts back to Jin-Woo, who had arrived at the location. Looking at the gate, he comments, "It's bigger in person." He looks at the team and notices the mining team and the collection team, along with 13 A-rank hunters and 20 B-rank hunters. Looking at all of them, Jin-Woo thinks, they have this many A-rank hunters? As expected of the guild with the most A-ranks. As he was thinking, he gets swarmed by the hunters that were about to participate in the raid with him. They start to ask him questions about his abilities and if he was taking the lead in today's raid. Seeing all this, Jin-Woo gets confused, and Young Yerim steps in, stopping all the hunters, saying they were making Jin-Woo feel awkward. She introduces herself to Jin-Woo, saying she is an A-rank healer of the Night Guild's assault team. Jin-Woo notices Park Young-soo behind him. Park Young-soo tells Jin-Woo that he will explain everything to the team now. He tells them he will be the one to lead the raid. Hearing that, the guild members tell him, shouldn't Jin-Woo lead, as he is an S-rank? Hearing that, Park Young-soo tells them, Hunter Jin-Woo will be in charge of the rear and make sure that we're safe. Hearing that, they ask if he thinks that they are so weak that they need someone else's protection. Park Young-soo explains to Jin-Woo that it might have been a bit rude, but they usually have this kind of atmosphere, and Jin-Woo tells him that just means they are that confident. After the talk, they start to make their way into the dungeon. The scene shifts to the Hunters Association emergency call center, where a phone operator receives a call from someone. The person, scared, tells the lady that there were monsters outside, saying a dungeon break occurred in their school. She asks her where she was calling from. The girl tells her that she was hiding in the bathroom, scared. She explains everything to her, saying, "I was with my friend, and all of a sudden, monsters appeared and started to kill everyone." Hearing that, the operator tells her that the hunters are heading there right now and asks her to calm down. She asks if she knows what kind of monsters they were. The girl tells her she saw them on TV and describes them as having green skin. Hearing that, the operator is terrified. She tells the girl to run away from there, as those things are orcs and they can smell their prey from a distance. But it was too late, as an orc found her, and the operator was horrified as she heard the screams of the girl who was asking for help. Meanwhile, in the school, the students were running out of the building as the orcs took out the ones trapped inside. The orcs start to discuss how they lost half of their prey, as the second one tells him it was okay, as there are still many left. They say that they managed to block the escape path and now will go up another floor and take out all of the remaining humans. Meanwhile, the students had barricaded the door using tables and chairs and trapped themselves inside a classroom. But it was no use, as one of the orcs destroyed the door. As the students looked at the scene in horror, they saw an orc covered in blood coming straight towards them. Seeing an opportunity, one of the students started to run towards the window, trying to escape while the orc was distracted by the other students. As he got close to the window, he saw two red eyes staring at him. Before he could react, he saw an axe coming straight towards his head. In the blink of an eye, it was over for him, as more orcs surrounded the classroom. One of them sensed a student with magical energy. He told the leader about that, and he told them to kill her first. We see Jaina and Han Song-yi standing at the back, scared, as she calls for her brother. Han Song-yi, seeing no way out, tells Jaina, "Even though I'm an E-rank, I am an awakened," and prepares to fight while Jaina is trying to stop her. As the orcs approach them, one of them asks if that is the human he was talking about. The second orc tells him, "No, I sense something much more powerful right next to her." It swings its axe towards Jaina, saying, "The smell is coming from that girl." She must die. Both girls close their eyes, accepting their fate. But as Jaina opens her eyes, she sees a high orc standing in front of her who managed to stop the attack. Looking at it, she understands it was her brother who had placed these soldiers around her for her protection. With one swing of the punch, the high orc managed to launch the orc into the air, and it went flying through the ceiling, shocking the rest of the monsters in the room, as three huge orcs surrounded Jaina. The story shifts back to Jin-Woo and the Knights Guild, who had entered the dungeon. Park Young-soo shouts and tells everyone, "It's an ogre," and they all see a towering giant of a two-headed ogre in front of them. As the creature swings its weapon at the hunters, Park Young-soo, using his ability, creates a shield in front of him. With full force, the monster strikes at the shield, but there was no use, as the barrier was strong enough to block the strike. He orders Yoon-tae, and he starts to run towards the monster's face. Running on its axe, he manages to blind the beast and tells the rest of the hunters to deal as much damage as they want to now. Hearing that, all of the hunters started to charge toward the beast. They started to chop it to pieces, and using their magic, the mages burned the thing to a crisp. After they managed to take out the creature, Park Young-soo told the team to regroup for a moment. He tells Jin-Woo that things don't look good. "I knew this would not be easy, but I didn't expect us to fight a twin-headed ogre from the start." He asks Jin-Woo if he knows the second name for these twin-headed ogres, and Jin-Woo tells him they are called gravekeepers. Park Young-soo tells him that's right, which means there would be an army of undead awaiting them. He hears Young Yoon-tae telling him that he jinxed it and asks if they should attack them. But they notice that the undead are not approaching them. They are just standing there, staring at them. The hunters started to discuss that something seemed off about them as they were backing away. Usually, they charge on sight. Hearing them talk, Jin-Woo thinks, "I had high expectations since this was a high-tier A-rank dungeon," and all of a sudden, he senses something. He tells Park Young-soo that he was leaving as an urgent matter had come up. Hearing that, Park Young-soo tried to stop him, saying, "Without you, we might get ourselves into danger." Jin-Woo told him, "In that case, I'll call over someone that's just as reliable as me. He'll take care of you and your hunters from here on out." Seeing the creature, all of the hunters were shocked as they recognized it as the ant from the Jeju Island raid. Jin-Woo told them, "In that case, there is no need for introductions," saying he would take his place in this raid. He ordered Baru to protect the humans and do as he pleased with the rest of the monsters. Hearing that, Baru let out a loud noise as he prepared to fight. Meanwhile, the hunters watched Baru massacre all the monsters present in the area. Young Yoon-tae commented that he wanted to raid with that thing, and the girl next to him told him, "You idiot! I can't believe you ran your mouth in front of him earlier." After they were done with the monsters, Jin-Woo told the hunters that these monsters here would help them. 20 were more than enough for this dungeon. He started to leave, but they stopped him, asking if he was really going to leave after setting all of the shadows loose. Jin-Woo, annoyed, looked at them with anger, saying, "I'll dismiss them before I go if you'd like, but I don't think that would help you out." Seeing him like this, both of them got scared. After that, Jin-Woo looked at the cooldown time on the Shadow Exchange. It still had 1 hour and 42 minutes left, so he started to run towards the exit. Seeing him go, Park Young-soo was in disbelief that he left. While running, Jin-Woo thought, "I keep getting signals from the shadow soldiers I left with Jaina. I have a bad feeling about this." He saw a bunch of undead blocking the path. Seeing that, he got furious and said, "Out of my way." Hearing that, all the undead cleared a path for him while kneeling down. Seeing this, Jin-Woo wondered, "What's going on? Are they kneeling before me because I'm a high-class necromancer that has the ability to command the undead?" But he ignored that and jumped over them, calling Kaisel and starting to fly out of the gate. Seeing him, everyone got excited as they recognized the wyvern as Jin was summoned. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo asked Kaisel to take him to his sister as fast as he could and used his domain of the monarch to increase the stats of Kaisel by 50% so it could fly faster. The story shifts to the school, where the high orcs were taking out the monsters with ease. Despite being overnumbered, they took out the creatures present in the room, saving the remaining students in the process. But there were still a lot of creatures left as the gate was still open. The students were unable to believe that these monsters really saved them. Jaina started to approach the orc, asking if her older brother was there. She started to call out for Jin-Woo, but the high orc stopped her, pointing towards the door as they heard footsteps coming towards them. We see an orc sitting on its throne as one of its henchmen was reporting to it, saying, "The final restrictions have been lifted, and we can enter the human world now." The monster said, "I'm the chief of the Red Blade tribe, and nothing can stop me now." His henchmen told him that the high orc warriors were helping the humans. The chief asked, "How many were there?" The henchman replied, "3." The chief got angry after hearing that, saying, "To think that the great orc warriors can't take care of 3 high orcs," calling them pathetic. He picked up his weapon, saying, "Lead the way. It's time for slaughter." Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, the hunters were getting scared of seeing all the insect monsters running around them. They told Park Young-soo that they wanted to get out of this dungeon, as if these monsters saw them as enemies, at any point, they would be done for. But he told them they couldn't do that, as if they left now, there would be no way to deal with the reporters outside, saying, "We can't stop just because we are afraid of some summons. Let's keep going." Baru all of a sudden approached him, and seeing him so close, Park Young-soo got terrified. Controlling his feelings, he told Baru, "Let's go." And Baru disappeared in an instant and reappeared again in front of him. Seeing him, Park Young-soo fell to the ground. Baru threw something towards him and started to leave. The rest of the members came to check on him, asking if he was all right and if they should follow those monsters. He told them, "First, let's take a look at this." As they all looked at what Baru brought, they saw it was the head of the Death Knight. Seeing this, Park Young-soo said, "It killed the highest rank monster in an instant. To think they're this strong," and told the members how valuable magic cores from high-ranked monsters are. He asked if there was still anyone left who wanted to quit, but as he looked up, he was the only one sitting there. All of the hunters were already following Baru and the rest of the monsters. Back at the school, the high orcs were trying to protect Jaina from all the orcs, but the chief was too powerful for them. He told them, "Orc tattoos are a symbol of victory. They're proof of how many enemies I've killed until now," and attacked them, saying, "Keep me entertained, high orc warriors." But the second high orc blocked the attack, and the chief was impressed after seeing this, saying, "You managed to block my sword, but you have no chance," and sliced through them. But the soldiers started to regenerate. The chief wondered if this was a spell, as no matter how much he cut through them, nothing changed. Suddenly, he started to hear voices in his head, telling him to kill the humans, and he thought, "It's getting worse over time. I need to finish this." He thought, "If they are moving because of magic, I just need to take care of their controller," and noticed Jaina hiding behind the high orcs. He ordered his henchmen to grab her, instructing them that the high orcs are powerless while they regenerate, and ordered them to keep attacking and restrict their movement. They slowly overpowered all 3 of the shadow soldiers. Seeing this, all the students started to panic, and the chief grabbed Jaina by her mouth and lifted her up in the air. He said, "As I suspected, it was you. I can clearly sense the magic power." Hearing that, Jaina got terrified as she was about to die, but as the monster was about to finish her, he noticed something outside the window and let go of her. He saw a large shadow coming straight towards him. As he sensed its power, he got overwhelmed. He told the other monsters, "Something is coming, something terrifying," and ordered them to brace for impact as Jin-Woo smashed his way into the building. The orc got thrown away in the distance. He patted Jaina on the head, telling her, "You're safe now." Meanwhile, the chief started to get up, looking scared as he looked at Jin-Woo and Kaisel. He started to say, "I'm Garaktaru, chieftain of the Red Blade." But Jin-Woo stopped him mid-sentence, asking him to shut up and wait. He hugged Jaina, who was scared and crying. Jin-Woo apologized to her for arriving late. He asked if everyone else was all right and turned towards Han Song-yi, asking if she was hurt. She told him she was all right while thinking, "Big brother's mood feels scary right now." He looked at Jaina's face, which had a red mark on it, and got furious. He summoned Igris and ordered him to keep Jaina safe while he took care of the ones responsible for this. He told the rest of the soldiers to take the students and head down the building. He saw one of the orcs trying to run and told it, "I said don't move." After everyone left, the orc asked Jin-Woo, "I see the immortal high orcs were your soldiers. Who are you, and how are you able to speak our language?" But Jin-Woo wasn't in the mood for a chat, as he stood there furious about what they did to his sister. Seeing this, the orc told everyone he had no intention of answering and ordered them to attack. They started to charge towards Jin-Woo. As the first orc swung his axe at Jin-Woo, he grabbed his hand, crushing his fingers, and slammed him to the ground. After that, he crushed his head by stepping on it. Seeing this, the other two orcs started to charge towards Jin-Woo. Using his Dominator's touch, Jin-Woo stopped them midair and started to close his fist, turning them both into mush. Furious, all the remaining orcs charged towards him, but Jin-Woo started to rip them apart and made his way towards the final orc. Seeing his power, the orc was terrified. Jin-Woo grabbed it by its mouth, using Dominator's touch to prevent it from moving. As the creature was pinned to the wall, Jin-Woo asked it, "Why'd you do it? Why is it that your kind wants to kill humans to this extreme level?" The orc told him it was because of the voices in their head that told them to kill the humans. Jin-Woo asks if he can hear those voices when he is around him, but the creature starts to ask for forgiveness. Jin-Woo, angry, tells it to answer the question and asks once more if it can hear the voices in his presence. After getting no reply, Jin-Woo summons his dagger, saying, "As expected, I'm not a human in your thoughts as well, but it really doesn't matter. I'll forgive you, however. Don't think that the process will be a painless one for you." Back in the dungeon, young Yerim was pulling on something, saying, "Don't you know how expensive that is?" She was trying to stop one of the ants that was eating a monster. She told it that vampires are very expensive and not to eat them. But the ant scratched her on the shoulder and continued eating the monster. Seeing this, Baru approached her and started to heal her injuries. She thanked him while thinking, "How can a summon cast better healing magic than me?" As they entered the boss room, they saw a monster hovering in the air along with many minions that were also present in the room. The hunters recognized them as the Archlich and 10 Death Knights. Park Young-soo thought about the incident in China, where a famous guild by the name of Gold Dragon was annihilated by an Archlich, which caused a dungeon break. He thought it was impossible for any normal A rank to defeat such a monster. As he was thinking, one of the hunters informed the rest of the party that more undead were coming from the rear. Park Young-soo ordered young Yerim to block the door using her magic. She created a magic wall at the entrance, preventing the undead from entering. She told them that she could hold this wall for only 5 minutes. As Park Young-soo was thinking of his next move, he saw Baru, who was approaching the Archlich. The boss recognized him as the shadow soldier of the monarch and asked why the monarch's personal army was attacking them. Baru started laughing, saying, "We were chosen by the monarch and you weren't." The lich replied, saying that couldn't be true and that he would personally report to the monarch. But Baru jumped at it, saying, "You talk way too much for someone who's about to die," and grabbed the glowing ball of light on the boss's chest. He started to rip it out of his body as the monster screamed and crushed the orb in his hand. The boss began to disintegrate. After the boss was dead, all the undead soldiers present in the dungeon also started to die off. Meanwhile, the hunters were shocked to see how he managed to kill the Archlich in one hit. After the fight was over, Baru let out a victory scream. Looking at it, Park Young-soo thought, "I knew it was strong, but to be this strong." He thought about Jinwa's power, realizing that he probably couldn't command all of his summons at once, as that would result in his mana being depleted. But judging from how strong they are, even if he calls just half of them, he could easily wield an army more powerful than a major guild. Back at the school, the Hunter Association had arrived, trying to control the situation, and Jin-Woo was sitting with the chairman in his car. The chairman told him that the 213 students who quickly escaped were all safe, and only 10 others were rescued from the building, but all the other students were gone. He handed Jin-Woo his phone, showing him the graph that displayed the number of gates appearing in that area in the last 6 months, explaining that all countries are experiencing an exponential surge in the number of gates along with the number of awakened. In other words, we're seeing a rise in the number of gates as well as a rise in the number of hunters who can close those gates. Jin-Woo asked him why he wanted to speak with him today, and the chairman handed Jin-Woo some papers, saying, "People from Japan, the United States, China, Russia, France, the UK, Germany, and even some countries in the Middle East wish to meet with you, and these are the documents containing their official requests." adding that he was sure some had already made contact through unofficial channels. The association doesn't have the right to stop them. They can only protect Jin-Woo's personal information as he requested. The chairman asked Jin-Woo to consider staying in Korea, as if he were to leave, the country wouldn't be able to adapt to the changes that the world is facing right now. They stopped near a hospital, and the chairman told Jin-Woo that this was the hospital his sister was taken to. As Jin-Woo started to leave, the chairman told him that he'll do everything in his power to provide him with the resources he needs if he stays in Korea, as they had already lost 3 of the 10 S-rank hunters and couldn't afford to lose another. Hearing that, Jin-Woo told him, "In that case, I'd like to enter high-rank gates alone from now on," and asked if he could make that happen. Hearing that, the chairman asked if that was the reason Jin-Woo made his own guild. He thought, one-man assault squad, and told Jin-Woo it would be difficult but not impossible. Fast forward, we see Jin-Ho on a call with someone, asking if they would like to join their guild. It was his cousin, and Jin-Ho was telling her to join their guild instead of being an ambassador for his father's guild. She asked him what this was about and informed Jin-Ho that Jin-He was returning to Korea. He replied by saying, "I know about that. He's my older brother. But never mind that. We need one more founding member." Hearing that, the woman asked him if he was asking her to join a guild that hadn't been created yet, and if he was sure he wasn't being scammed by some shady guy. But hearing that it was Jin-Woo who was creating a new guild, she got interested as she arrived. Jin-Ho introduced her to Jin-Woo, saying, "This is my cousin, Yoo Soo-hyun, an A-rank hunter." Seeing her excited to meet Jin-Woo, Jin-Ho told her, "You are the one who is a celebrity here." Meanwhile, Jin-Woo thought, "Is she really an A-rank?" She explained that he's the hunter who vanished after ruining Lee Min-sung's press conference. After they sat down, Jin-Woo explained to her that joining their guild would cause a stir and asked if she would be okay with that. She told him, "Anything is better than getting mixed up with Eugene Sung." Jin-Woo asked who she was talking about, and Jin-Ho told him that's his older brother. Jin-Woo asked, "The one with the bad personality?" After the meeting, Yoo Soo-hyun asked Jin-Woo if she could take a selfie with him to post online. The scene shifted to the Hunter Association building, where Senator Nam Jun-wook was protesting against the appeal of Chairman Go Gun-hee to allow Hunter Jin-Woo to enter high-level dungeons alone. He told the people present in the room that the regulation was put in place as soon as Hunter Sung Jin-Woo established his guild. "If this isn't preferential treatment, then I don't know what is," he added, saying that the Hunter Association exists for the good of all hunters, not just Hunter Jin-Woo, and asked the chairman to explain himself. The chairman told him he was right. This is preferential treatment. He explained to the room the reason for doing this. He asked them, "If you have to choose between 20 A-rank hunters or an assault squad of just Hunter Jin-Woo himself, which one would you choose to deploy in a dungeon break zone?" He told them that guilds from all over the world are desperate to get their hands on Hunter Jin-Woo and asked if they really thought he'd want to remain in Korea if they were unwilling to compromise with him. He asked if they planned on making the same mistake twice, just like the incident with Hunter Huang leaving for America, adding, "If this type of preferential treatment seems unreasonable to you, I plead with you to think about who will save your life when another S-rank gate appears here in Korea." Meanwhile, Hunter Cha was looking at her phone at a picture of Jin-Woo with Yoo Soo-hyun. Seeing this, she started to tremble and scream in frustration. Fast forward, we see Jin-Woo along with Jin-Ho, who are preparing to start the first raid of their guild. Seeing the gate, Jin-Ho tells Jin-Woo, "I've never seen anything like this." He says, "This gate is massive." They were surrounded by reporters who were asking them all sorts of questions, asking about his relationship with his guild member Yoo Soo-hyun. Hearing this, Jin-Woo asked Chief Woo, "I thought the association was keeping my personal information private. What happened?" The chief explained, "We can protect his information, but we can't stop the public from knowing the location of the gates," and asked him to be careful about what gets posted on social media from now on. He remembered his picture with Yoo Soo-hyun on Instagram as they started to enter. Jin-Ho told Jin-Woo they should call for a mining team and a collection team, as he didn't think he could handle everything by himself. Jin-Woo told him not to worry about that, as he would be using his shadows to do all the work. Woo was measuring the mana of the shadow soldiers and was impressed, as all of them were B rank or higher. He commented, "A squad like this is more than qualified for a raid permit into an A-rank gate." Jin-Woo was making a fool out of everyone who was debating whether or not this was preferential treatment. He told the men there he was good to go and started to change into his armor. He tells them both, "I've been ordered by the chairman to observe your raid." He wants to know if this really is a safe idea and asks if it will be okay if he accompanies them as a representative of the inspection team, just for today. Hearing that, Jin-Woo asks him if he will be okay in there with them, and Hunter Woo wonders what he is talking about. Fast forward a few minutes, and we see Hunter Woo sweating as he witnesses Jin-Woo's soldiers taking out A-rank monsters with ease. He thinks, this is an A-rank monster named Naga. Even veteran hunters who have exceptional combat and magic skills would have a hard time against these monsters. But still, these monsters are no match for his army because they keep regenerating. He looks at Igris, thinking that one is especially powerful as Igris uses his sword to take out multiple enemies with ease. Seeing this, Woo thinks that only mages of the highest level can wield lightning magic. But is it an A rank? And realizes it's probably even higher, and wonders if he will be able to win if they were to fight one-on-one as the other soldiers were fighting. He sees one ant that was munching on a dead monster. All of a sudden, it got kicked by Jin-Woo and went flying to the ceiling. Jin-Woo told the ant, "I told you not to eat those. Do you have any idea how valuable these corpses are?" He orders the other low-level soldiers to keep mining those mana crystals. Seeing him work, Woo thinks he's capable of clearing an A-rank dungeon, retrieving corpses, and mining mana crystals all by himself. This isn't just a one-man assault squad. After all the minions were dead, the boss finally appeared. Seeing the creature, Jin-Woo ordered his soldiers, "Those of you who are still working can stay. The rest of you return." Woo asks him, "Why did you have the other soldiers go away? Your summons would have been strong enough to take down the boss themselves." Summoning his daggers, Jin-Woo tells him, "Relying too much on my shadows makes me lose my touch," and starts to run up the monster's body with incredible speed. Before the monster gets any chance to defend itself, Jin-Woo slices its face in two with just one swing of the weapon and jumps up in the air. Seeing this, Woo was out of words, as he had never seen anything like this in all his years as a hunter. After the boss was defeated, Jin-Woo saw that he had gained a level and his abilities had also been upgraded, including Shadow Exchange, as the cooldown of it had decreased by 1 hour. Seeing this, Jin-Woo thought, the cooldown goes down by an hour for every level I gain. So if I keep leveling up this skill, I'll be able to go wherever I want without worrying about my mom and sister's safety. Meanwhile, Woo was looking at the dead boss, thinking, Naga's scales are tough enough to be used as shields or armor, but he sliced through them with just 2 daggers. He sees Jin-Woo, who was using shadow extraction on the defeated boss, and a shadow starts to come out of the corpse. A notification tells Jin-Woo that you have successfully enhanced the shadow's power. The shadow will start at level 13. Seeing the soldier, he thinks it's the same rank as Tusk but level 13, which means that it is as strong as when it was alive, but it's so much smaller now. Shadows usually stay the same size or grow when I extract them. Even so, it is emitting an enormous amount of mana. I think it's about as strong as Tusk. He sees a notification telling him to name his new soldier, and he decides to name him Jima. After he was done with that, the cave started to shake. Seeing this, Jin-Ho told Jin-Woo that we should get going. He looked at the corpse of the boss, thinking, what do I do about this? After a while, we see Tusk coming out of the gate with the dead boss on its shoulder, and the reporters recognizing him as one of Jin-Woo's summons start to take pictures of him. As the rest of the squad comes out, we see Woo, who was completely overwhelmed by what he saw inside the gate. After some time, we see him sitting in the chairman's office, reporting to him about everything that he saw in the dungeon. Looking at him, the chairman comments, "You've seen many different raids over the years, but hearing your report, I understand why even a veteran like you was overwhelmed." He tells the chairman that what I witnessed wasn't a raid, but a massacre. After Hunter Woo leaves, the chairman thinks about everything, saying, the hunters of Korea know, from all over the world, about to see the tides turn. The story shifts to Japan, where an unnatural phenomenon is occurring. All the people are looking at the sky with confusion, not understanding what is going on, as they see a gigantic red gate menacingly looming in the sky. Chapter end here. For more, like, share, and subscribe.